Yeah, it was very eye-opening. I think as soon as I arrived, it was a bit of a culture shock because obviously I'd not really been to a really developing area of the world before.
Yeah.
It was kind of a shock to see people like living in those kind of conditions. So there was like a lot of people living in sort of slums and like lots of open fires.
Okay.
And it made me realize how important dentistry really is. Like, it's made me see the effects of poverty on dentistry. So when people can't access the dentist, and I saw like the most severe aspects of dentistry, like huge tumors, like massive abscesses in their necks. And
Yeah.
it kind of made me realize like the importance of prevention over in the UK and how important it is to never get to that point.
So welcome guys to another video. Today we have Megan with us, who is at the University of Sheffield. She's a third-year dental student, and she's going to be letting us know about her dental journey, any advice that she's got for aspiring dentists, and things she's found useful as a dental student as well. So thank you, Megan, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Megan, just tell us a little bit about why did you want to get into dentistry?
So when I was younger, I always looked up to my dentist because she was just like a really calm and caring person. And so I wanted to be like her. And I went to Tanzania for some work experience. And I think that really like was a turning point because then it made me really want to go and help people and keep them out of pain and give them their confidence back.
Okay, so how did you even get to the point of thinking to reach out to your dentist and deciding that, you know, dentistry was the career? Is it maybe family members that were in dentistry? Did something happen that made you then take the step to ask your dentist work experience?
I think I've always wanted to help people in like a career.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, I always looked up to my dentist. So deep down, I always hoped that I would get there one day.
Okay.
And at like our school, we'd have these like job fairs and things. So you could go and like speak to dentists and stuff. And after speaking to them and telling me a bit about it, I just really wanted to do it because I knew it was for me.
Yeah. You weren't put off by watching your own dentist at work?
No, not at all. I actually loved it. I learned so much even just watching them.
Yeah.
And I saw how much of an impact like dental treatment can have on people.
Yeah.
Really.
And how was it trying to get into dental school, trying to put your application together? You talked about the work experience that you took abroad. So, you know, just talk to us about that process of putting together the application.
Yeah, I think it definitely is a really difficult process. I imagined it as a bit like a ladder. Like you have so many steps that you need to go up before you get into the dental school. So I did find it difficult, but I was really driven because I really knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I think that helped me just get through it all and just have the future in mind of why I wanted to do it.
Yeah. And why did you decide to do work experience abroad? Was it the fact that you were struggling to get enough work experience locally? What made you decide to take that choice?
Yeah, so I went to my dentist that I'd been to since I was a baby, and I asked if I could get some work experience there, and they said to come back in my last year of school.
Yeah.
And that'd be far too late because you need to have the work experience before you actually apply, because you need to know if you really want to do it or not. I think it's really important. So then I tried to look elsewhere because I was 16 at this point, and I couldn't really find anywhere that would take people my age until I came across Cat Medics. And they had it just for 16 and 17-year-olds in Tanzania.
All right. So what was the process even to get in touch with the organization and to get yourself prepared to actually go to Tanzania?
Yeah, so I had to do like a lot of, I think you had to like apply for it and things. And then I had to do a lot of fundraising as well because it's expensive to get flights out as well. So I had like coffee mornings and I enjoy photography. So I made calendars and sold them around teachers and things.
Yeah. That must be something that could have been good to talk about at interview if you're having to talk about fundraising to, you know, make this trip to Tanzania. Did it come up at all at interview?
Yeah, Tanzania definitely did because I mentioned it a lot in my personal statement.
Yeah.
So I think at the interview they could really ask me lots of questions about that and I could show how much of an impact it had on me.
All right. So yeah, how was the experience in Tanzania?
Yeah, it was very eye-opening. I think as soon as I arrived, it was a bit of a culture shock because obviously I'd not really been to a really developing area of the world before.
Yeah.
It was kind of a shock to see people like living in those kind of conditions. in sort
Yes,
of like,
talk to us about the conditions, the culture, how the people were. Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah. So there was like a lot of people living in sort of slums and like lots of open fires.
Okay.
And it made me realize how important dentistry really is. Like, it's made me see the effects of poverty on dentistry. So when people can't access the dentist, and I saw like the most severe aspects of dentistry, like huge tumors, like massive abscesses in their necks. And it kind of made me realize like the importance of prevention over in the UK and how important it is to never get to that point. So it made me want to come back and like really help people so they don't get in that much pain that I saw over there.
What responsibilities were you given whilst you were there?
So I was shadowing a dentist, and we were just sort of like almost like work experience generally. So we were watching them, and I also did a little bit on the midwifery ward and the children's burns ward. So that was quite sad to see because there's a lot of open fires and a lot of children coming in, their full bodies burned.
Yeah.
It really like made me realize how much empathy I had as well.
So without the group going there to offer dental treatment, dental care, and all the other healthcare services, what would the locals normally do?
I think, I'm not sure, it's generally a lot of people over there, they can't afford, because some of them were living in Maasai tribes, some of them can't afford to travel to the hospitals. So for example, I saw this lady who had a huge tumour in her mouth that had grown for 10 years,
Wow.
but she couldn't afford to get to the hospital.
Wow.
So I think for a lot of people, they only go when they're in extreme pain, and that's when it's almost too late.
Just to remember what happened to the lady with the tumour in terms of treatment?
Yeah, I think she was sent to a larger hospital because they weren't quite sure what they could do, because this was just like a regional one. But I think it might have been an ameloblastoma.
Okay, so an aggressive.
Yeah, it was massive, and her whole jaw had moved and her teeth. I was shocked that she could still eat. Yeah.
Wow. But if you managed to explore the area as well, outside of the shadowing.
Definitely. I actually went on safari as well, which is amazing. Yeah, I actually got a painting from.
Yeah, I can see that. Very nice.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
So what other aspects of the application did you have to work on? So, the personal statement, how did you approach that?
Yeah, I was really lucky actually because there was a librarian at my school and he would help like sit down and help you go through, because obviously it takes a lot of drafts to make sure it's as good as you can make it.
Yes.
That was really helpful. And I think having Tanzania gave me a lot to talk about and almost make me stand out, because not everybody would have things like that.
So in terms of the interviews, did you get all your interviews? How was that for you?
So I got an interview for Dundee, Sheffield and Belfast, and they're all quite different. They're all very different actually, because Sheffield was like more of like a 15-minute conversation with the panel, and then Dundee was MMIs, and Belfast was like almost like MMIs, but it was in different rooms. So it was like, and you weren't allowed to ask them anything other than to repeat the question. So that was quite different. You couldn't really engage with them.
And in terms of then waiting on offers, how was that?
I was very nervous waiting, especially because on results day, I'd got my grades, so I knew that I'd got in, but my track hadn't updated. And it turns out that Sheffield didn't have my grades yet. So I was panicking because I was worried that I hadn't made it in. But luckily I managed to send a photo and they got it all sorted.
Okay. Did you get all the offers or some of them?
So I got an offer from Sheffield and I was put in the waiting list for Belfast.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get into Dundee, even though I was really set on going there. I've only got 45 places, so it's very competitive.
So, okay, being from Scotland, going to Sheffield, that's a big, it's a big distance. It's not going to be a short distance to travel. So, how did you feel about that, being that far away from home? How far away is it from home in terms of driving or public transport?
It takes about 5 hours to drive there and about 3 hours 40 minutes on the train, so it is a very long way.
Okay,
it was quite strange.
So how did you approach that? How did you feel moving that far away from home?
I think I was a bit nervous, but it's also nice because it was like a completely fresh start. Like it was almost like I had 2 lives, my Sheffield life and then my life at home when I went back to like my friends and everything.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to just like definitely like open my horizons and broaden my horizons. Sorry.
Yeah.
And met people that I'd never have met if I stayed up in Scotland.
All right.
Yeah.
And I guess you're going to have a very different experience to everybody that you went to school with in Scotland as well.
Definitely,
Um,
yeah.
how have you found the time in Sheffield? I mean,
I
had you ever
really liked it.
experienced the city before?
No, I'd only been just for the interview, and it was
Yeah.
snowing, so my interview almost got cancelled because of the snow. So
How was your transition into the uni?
yeah, I think it is quite different because I think at A level, some of the subjects are kind of similar in the first year of dentistry, whereas what I did at my advanced hires is slightly different. So it was a bit of an overlap for some people, whereas I had to learn all this new stuff.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yes. So talk about that. So because that's going to be a bit unique in that for A levels, yours would have been different to someone who may have done their A levels within England. So yeah, what's it like doing A levels in Scotland, and how does that translate to you now coming into first year of dental school?
yeah. So I think the subjects are really different that we do because we do a lot on like lab techniques in advanced hire, and you have to
Okay.
do a project as well, which counts. I think it's 20% of your grade.
Okay.
You have to do that as well, and I think yeah, it's generally the subjects that are different. Whereas I think for A level, a lot of things like the heart and some things the kidneys and things they'd already gone through. Whereas
I
we'd
see.
more than like mitosis and I'm trying to think of the feels like a while ago when I was doing advanced higher now.
Meiosis, that's so long
Yeah.
ago. So okay, advanced hires is that 2 years that you
It's
do
just
that?
1 year. Yeah. So you do National 5 first, which is kind of like GCSEs. And then
Yeah.
you do hires, which is kind of like AS level, I think. And then you go on to advanced hires.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so advanced hires is the equivalent to year 13.
I think so.
'Cause
It's the last year.
the last year 12 and year 13 are the A level years.
Yeah. So,
So I'm just trying to get my head around how it works in Scotland. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
mhm.
Uh, when would you get your results? Would you get your results? Would you always get your results before offers are made if you're from Scotland?
Yeah, I think you get them in August.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think,
Wow. Okay, so you get your results and then you get the October deadline, or is
yeah.
this I'm
Yeah. I
trying
think
to
so.
yeah
First time
August and
Newcastle.
wow. All right. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's one less thing to worry about
Yeah, definitely.
because you would know already. Okay. So okay, first year of Sheffield dental school. How was that for you?
I loved it because I think before you're in dental school, you don't really learn a lot about teeth. Like, there's not really, you don't know how to access learning resources for that. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed finally getting to learn all the stuff that I'd really wanted to learn before.
Yeah.
And I found the anatomy really interesting as well. The
Understand. Yeah.
dissection from the diaphragm
Yes.
up. Yeah.
I hear a lot about that, the dissection at Sheffield. Um, in terms of the 3 years that you've been there, what are
Mhm.
some highlights about studying at Sheffield?
I think I actually really enjoyed nursing with the fourth years because you get to see how they interact with the patients and you can really gain a bit more confidence on the clinic. And I really
Okay.
enjoyed getting onto the phantom heads as well and
Yeah.
doing fillings for the first time and doing the even pulpal disease. So starting simple root canals. And they've also got those simulator things. So before you've actually gone on the phantom heads, you've had a little idea of what it feels like to be drilling on this like simulation thing, which is quite cool.
Very cool. So, do you feel like that's a realistic, or it gives you a realistic flavor of the actual practical element of being a dentist?
I think it's a really handy tool for before when you're very just starting off, so you can
Yeah.
see like what it's like doing the different cavity preps and things before
Yeah.
you've done it. So you have an idea when you go into the phantom heads, you know what you're doing and how it should look and how you hold the instruments.
How much practice do you get with the simulators?
So I think we did it maybe, there's maybe maybe like 5 times throughout first and second year.
Okay.
And then you mainly worked on phantom heads for
Yeah.
basic clinical skills.
Was it intimidating working with the fourth years?
I think at first it could be because you want to be a good nurse. You don't want them to be But they're all generally really nice and
Yeah.
really helpful as well, and really willing to like discuss what's happening and get you involved. So it was really nice to get to know other years as well.
All right. So this begins in your second year, working with the
Yeah,
fourth years?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so just talk us through it. You turn up to the clinic. Do you talk to the
Mhm.
fourth year beforehand? Do you talk to a supervisor? Just talk us through the process, how it typically runs.
Yeah, so basically you turn up onto clinics and then they assign you with a fourth year. And then you'll be doing everything that the nurse would normally do. So even like mixing alginate, you'll be writing all, say they were doing a 6-point pocket chart, you'd be doing that, writing the numbers down for them,
Yeah.
checking all the instruments so that when you go on clinics, you know exactly where everything is, rather
Yeah.
than being really stressed and don't know where to go for anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice easing you in. And we
Okay.
also made dentures in the first semester of second year for a patient. So I think that was a really good way to ease us into starting to manage patients. And that was really, felt like a
So
dentist.
so they set you up. They set all of you with denture patients, or is it only some of you that get denture patients and others get other type
So
of
they set
patients?
all of us up. So you're in pairs, and then 1 week someone will be the nurse, and 1 week someone will be the dentist. And
Yes.
it's over like 7 visits, I think, when you
Okay.
see the patient and you do all of the jaw registration and things and
Yeah.
impressions for the dentures.
Yeah. How was it for you doing that for the first time?
I think I was a little bit nervous at first because it was the first real patient that we'd had, but they're
Yeah.
really nice, and it was nice to build that rapport with them.
Yeah.
And we also
We.
got to see what it was like making the dentures in the labs.
Yeah.
That was really good to see, like what happens before you get them back into the clinic.
Was the patient happy with the denture?
He was really happy. Yeah, it was the tutor tried to move it, and it literally would not move. And he
Yeah.
had quite an atrophic ridge, so I was quite
Okay.
shocked that it managed to stay in so well.
Fantastic. Was it both sets of dentures, top and bottom, or just
Yeah,
one?
top and bottom.
Top and bottom. Okay, great job. Okay, so okay, from doing dentures for patients, how does that then progress? What other procedures do you start to learn and actually apply at more clinic?
So when it was lockdown, we were supposed to start doing oral surgery extractions.
Okay,
So we
so
did,
explain that. What's the difference between oral surgery extractions and just normal extractions,
yeah,
taking teeth out?
yeah. I think you'd be on the oral surgery clinics, so you'd extract the teeth, and then also we were supposed to do something called AEDC. So I think
Okay.
it's trying to work out what the problem is and where they're best suited to go
Okay.
and work out.
So
Yeah.
where would you be sending them to after assessing?
So I think you'd send them to different students. So you could be sending them to a fourth year if they needed to have like a complex root canal done, if they were in a lot of pain, or if they needed an extraction, you just send them to oral surgery.
Yeah.
So you were sort of, it was almost a way to get you used to seeing patients again. And we were supposed to start doing simple fillings on patients as well,
Okay.
but we've obviously missed quite a lot because of lockdown.
What would you say have been some of the challenges of being a dental student?
I think sometimes for the clinical skills, it's hard to not compare yourself to other people,
Yeah.
because sometimes it can feel a bit like people next to you are getting it straight away. And then you just, if you're having a bad day, for example, you just, your hand's just not working for some reason. It's hard to not compare that. But I think you just need to realize that it's just you against yourself, because everybody's going to be a dentist at the end of the day. You just need to kind of focus on what you're doing, because it's not a marathon, it's not a race. You can all go at your own speeds, and everyone will have different skills.
That's it. Everyone's going to have different areas that they're stronger at. And you can't expect yourself to be the strongest at each different, speciality within dentistry. It's just not possible. So you're definitely right about not comparing with others and just focusing on improving yourself.
Yeah,
Definitely, yes. And yeah, you're all dentists at the end of the day once you finish dental school. So no, that's good. What other challenges would you say?
I think it's definitely hard to stay on top of the workload as well.
Okay.
Even just now, we're getting thrown, for the first week I had about 19 lectures, so you're trying to stay on top of those as best as you can, but then also trying to prepare for the clinics, because you want to make sure you go in and knowing what you're doing. So I think time management's really important.
How is it different to managing your time for your national hires or advanced hires?
Yeah, I think it's different because there's a lot more self-study than in high school, because I think generally you have to go and do a bit more extra reading, and it's a different type of learning to at school. So it just takes a while to adapt to that.
Yeah. And what's helped you in terms of organizing yourself? Or is this something that you're still working out?
So I'm definitely a big fan of Ali Abdal. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you've heard of him.
Yeah, the medic. Yeah.
Yeah, so he does, I like making lots of spreadsheets and things. So I can
Yeah.
write down the lecture. I group them into different sections, so like maybe pediatrics or cardiovascular system. And then I
Yeah.
can take off when I've gone through them. And then I
Okay.
can make myself some questions and put it red, amber, or green so that I know where I'm at. And it actually motivates me as well, because when you start going through a list, you end up realizing, oh, I've only got a few more, so then you just do the next ones. It
Yeah.
helps me make sure that I don't miss anything out for the exams as well.
All right. So what made you change over to that style of working and revising?
I think it's because there was so much to learn. So I had to make sure that first I understood it,
Yeah.
and also that I was testing myself regularly. Because if you do something at the beginning of the year and you don't look at it till the exam, it's really hard to, it's difficult to cram. So you kind of need to keep that learning throughout the year
Yeah.
so that you know it for them.
All right. So did you find that your previous methods of learning just weren't helping you to keep up? Like, what made you
I think,
realize
yeah,
that things needed to change?
yeah. I think I might have been guilty of trying to like memorize things rather than understand it at times.
Yeah.
Because for some definitions in biology, you had to have it like word for word. So I think now I've realized that it's the understanding that's the most important, because you have so much content that you physically can't memorize everything.
Yeah.
So you need to have a better system of making sure you're understanding it and keep making sure you refresh it so that it
Yeah.
gets into your head.
Yeah. It's almost a subtle difference between, memorizing and understanding. I mean, do you think you could explain that a little bit more to somebody who might not quite get the difference?
Yeah. So I'd say like memorizing, that's generally like memorizing a definition. You might not necessarily know exactly what it means, but you know, say in an exam paper they asked you for what does this mean, you just write down that definition. Whereas
Yeah.
understanding is like you can explain it in your own words, or you could even like teach it to somebody else, and that means that you really understand it. And it's actually easier to remember it when you've understood it. So you're less likely to forget it.
Fantastic. So it's not just memorizing something line for line and regurgitating, it's you're able to take it in, understand the reasons why something happens. You're even able to teach it to somebody else. So actually that's an important factor in it. If you can teach somebody, then you truly understand what you've learned.
Exactly.
So I'm sure people find that very useful. So, okay, comparison can be a struggle. Organizing yourself can be a struggle. Are there any other struggles that dental students can face?
I think having a work-life balance is quite tricky at first, because sometimes you get caught up in like the dentistry bubble. You need to make sure that you still keep having a life outside that. So whether that's like sports or anything else like cooking, any hobbies that you have, it's important to keep them up, because otherwise you don't want to end up too stressed or too caught up in dentistry.
Yeah. Are there any hobbies or sports that you get involved in?
Yeah, so the Dental Society's got this women's football team. So I've
Okay.
been usually playing with them every week against different departments.
Oh,
And we actually
nice.
won
What
a gold
position?
on sports day this year, last year.
What position do you usually play?
So usually I play probably midfield, so probably on the right wing or something. Because I used to play football during school for quite a few years.
So you must be quite quick then.
Yeah, quite fast.
Okay, so you've got football there that keeps you quite busy. Do you have training during the week and then matches during the weekends? How does that work?
Usually when there's the BDSA sports day, we'd usually have training like once a week.
Yeah.
Whereas normally it's just like once a week, just almost like an intramural thing, just playing different people.
And
it's
how
really
is
nice getting to know like the older years.
Yeah.
It's nice.
How does Sheffield normally do at the sports days?
They won last year, so
So that's
we won in
2019.
football, so I'm really happy.
2019 winners.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that for a specific sport or the whole day?
Overall.
Overall.
Yeah, but we also won the final of the women's football, so we're really happy about that.
do you know how UCLan did?
I'm not sure actually. I can't really remember.
Well, not that memorable. Okay.
So many teams, hard to remember.
All right. Okay. Any other things that you'd say can be challenging apart from balancing work life as well?
Another thing would be if you go from being the top at school and then going to everybody was the top at their school.
Yeah.
It's that same kind of realizing that it's not a competition. Like, as I said before, you're all going to be dentists. I think it's better to help each other rather than compare. And if you've learned a resource, rather than hiding it, share it with everybody, because then you can help them as well.
Yeah.
And you're not all competing to get into dental school anymore.
Yeah, I guess it's that mindset of you've always been almost conditioned to try and be top of the class and to get the best result and to be able to get applications to dental school, to get into dental school against other people. But once you're in dental school, everyone's going to qualify as a dentist. You want to be professionals that are able to work with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, yeah. If you were to talk to yourself when you were back in Scotland doing your hires, what advice would you give yourself?
I think one of the main ones would be make sure you understand what you're learning as well, from what I said before, rather than memorising. And probably not to stress so much about the UK CAT, because I was really, really stressed about that. Because I think I didn't get the highest score. But I think if anyone else hasn't got the highest score, don't give up, because I still got 3 interviews. Yeah. And I think you just need to make sure you apply strategically and see what the dental schools are looking for, because some of them have different weightings on the UK CAT.
Yeah.
So I think I was worried that I wouldn't get anywhere because I didn't think it was the best, but I didn't really need to worry because I still got 3 interviews.
Okay. It can be one of those hard things, someone can tell you, don't worry and don't stress. Yeah. But you still end up, worrying and stressing. But no, you're right. Sometimes you can spend too much energy thinking about things that are out of your control. Once you've done the UK CAT, there's nothing you can do. Try and make the best of what you've got. Do the research for the different unis. Okay, and what are you looking forward to going forward? So you're in 3rd year at the moment. What are you looking forward to in terms of the rest of dental school and dentistry?
I'm looking forward to starting having my own proper patients and sort of building that rapport with them. Because we've just recently started doing like case studies and things, and I've been really enjoying them. I'm working out like treatment plans and medical histories and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect. Yeah, and even trying more hands-on things like more advanced pulpal disease and different fillings and crown preps and things. It makes you really feel like a dental student.
And do you ever think about life after dental school?
I think I do. A little bit. It feels very far away just now since I'm just in 3rd year. Yeah. But I do look forward to sort of being a proper dentist and just treating patients as I'd like to. It's just what I've always dreamed of almost since I was younger.
How has so now being a dental student, how do you view a career as a dentist in comparison to before you had got into dental school? Like, how has your perception changed? Has it changed?
So I think I realised how much paperwork there is as well, and how many notes and things, and how important things like communication are, and keeping good notes and things. Because I suppose when you're just like doing your work experience, you're just sort of like, it almost feels like being that dentist will be so far away because you're still so at the beginning of your dental journey. So it's strange that it's starting to feel closer now. But it's exciting as well.
So far, have you actually had the opportunity to start writing up notes for patients? So, for example, the denture patients, would you be writing the notes or would somebody else be doing it?
Yeah, we did. We wrote up the notes after. And we've also got these books where you write a little bit of a reflection and then the tutor will give you a comment as well. So I think that's really good for helping you reflect on how you can learn for the next time.
All right. No, fantastic. And the last question is, what is dentistry to Megan?
For me, I think dentistry is helping people and get their smiles back and give them that confidence back again. Because I think your smile is one of the first things that you notice in people.
Yeah.
And when someone's happy with their smile, they're just happier in themselves and in their lives. Yeah. And I just want to give that back to them if they're unhappy with theirs or in pain.
Awesome, awesome. No, thank you, Megan, for coming on today, sharing your dental journey, and we're looking forward to seeing what else you're going to be getting up to. Guys, do follow Megan on Instagram. I'll put her link down below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to hear about other dental students' dental journeys, dentists' dental journeys, and just some tips and advice if you're trying to get into dental school as well. Make sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and we'll see you at the next video. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
I'm hoping to apply to dentistry as a graduate, and today I entered the Dental Mentor MMI interview practice. I learned a lot more about the types of interview questions, how to portray myself at interview, and I also got a lot of helpful feedback on things I should change, things I should say and things I shouldn't say. So overall I found this experience very, very helpful.